what are you doing at Bethesda?
Sure. I'm Brian Wheeler, the lead PvP designer for Elder Scrolls Online.
Oh, that's very nice because our first question is about PvP.
Okay.
Could you explain PvP in a way that someone who has never played an MMO would understand it, how it works in Elder Scrolls Online?
Sure. Basically, the landmass of Cyrodiil, which was last seen in Oblivion, is up for grabs, essentially. The army which used to defend it, which are the Imperials, have withdrawn into Imperial City, and they left a lot of their strongholds and resource structures which feed those strongholds open for the alliances to fight over. So you can use, siege weaponry, trebuchets, ballistas, all kinds of cool medieval warfare tactics to take and hold keeps from the enemy players out there in Cyrodiil.
So if I start the game and go to the PvP, what will be my approach? So I start in Cyrodiil.
You start in your home territory. You get 10 levels under your belt first, because that's about when we determined you have enough abilities and you've kind of gotten control of how the game works in terms of getting quests, moving your character and such. After level 10, you can go into Cyrodiil and will actually increase your hit points and stamina and magicka, so you'll be competitive against a level 50, but you won't get any new abilities. However, you can earn experience by killing players and doing quests in Cyrodiil too.
So there are some numbers, like 200 players on screen.
Yes.
And there are also like 2,000 players in Cyrodiil. How?
Yeah, what we're looking to do is get thousands of players in Cyrodiil at once, but also 200 or so on your screen while you're fighting people at a keep. When we did the footage that you saw in there, that was actually last year. So we're actually pushing that envelope more and more as we go, so we can have those huge epic battles, which make it feel much like a war as opposed to just a small battleground.
Okay. So is Cyrodiil totally open? Can you walk around and just join a battle? Or?
Yeah. Once you hit level 10, you can go to Cyrodiil, and then you'll be able to just walk around. The majority of the Cyrodiil content, which was in Oblivion, is also in Elder Scrolls Online. Okay. So things like Bruma and Coral and Cheydinhal, towns that existed in Oblivion, also exist in Elder Scrolls Online.
Okay. And if you want to join a fight for a castle or something like that, you just walk to the castle where maybe the fights, or is it like somehow separated from the main world fights?
All the keeps are linked together in a transit line. So if you own a bunch of keeps that are linked together, you can just basically teleport from one to another. Okay. But if the keep is under attack, you can't teleport at it. You may be able to respawn at it, but you can't get right to a fight right away in that regard. If I'm grouped up, I can teleport to a friend, which is close by, but in terms of getting to a fight and walking around in Cyrodiil, you can walk around there or ride a mountain in Cyrodiil just fine.
Okay, that's cool. And if there's a fight and a lot of people join it, there might be more than 200 players at one time. How will you solve it?
Yeah, we're looking at how the server and the client work together. The client is, actually what runs on your computer or on your console. We have to make sure that we have enough people on the screen, and then we started to toy with basically how far the graphics get pushed. We know the servers can handle well over that amount of players in one area. It's just a matter of how well your client performs, and we're figuring out the best way to handle when it goes above it, when we start to see frame rates dip. What are we going to do to make sure you can still fight? Because that's the worst thing about it. If you go out there and you just can't fight because your frame rate is bad, we don't want to have that type of experience. So we're still experimenting with figuring out how best to handle those, but you'll never be limited from fighting if you don't want to.
Okay, that's cool. And the Imperial City won't be open to launch?
Right, on launch, the bridges which lead to Imperial City have been broken in half by basically dark anchors that Molag Bal has shot down. We're looking at doing Imperial City stuff later, but we're not going to release too much information on when that is. But just in terms of the basic concept of Imperial City is there and you can see it and it's under siege, so there's a lot of bad stuff going on in there.
So, other topic about the guilds, player guilds, and the chat window. At first, will it be possible to have more than one chat window open at the time?
Yeah, as far as I know, you can make new windows with the with the UI that we have, and you can send messages to the different windows, I believe. The customization of the chat window is pretty in depth. You can send, various messages to various channels. In player guilds, you'll be able to have cross alliance members within a guild. Like you can be an Aldmeri player, I can be a Daggerfall player, and if we're in the same guild, we can still see each other's chat. So that gets back to kind of like the whole social experience of bringing people together as opposed to separating them.
So you can also chat with your guild members when they are in another alliance?
Yes.
Okay, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Then we got some other questions concerning the gameplay.
Uh-huh.
How long does it take to level up, and
leveling up is going to vary from person to person, really. It's 50 levels, but there's also lots of skill lines to fill out as well. Every player can be every armor type and use every type of weapon, and those are all skill lines to fill out. There's also Mages Guild and Fighters Guild skill lines. So the level cap is just one aspect of it. Within an alliance, within like Daggerfall Alliance's territory, it's about 120 to 200 hours worth of content, depending upon how much of the world you explore. Then you can take that character, play through the Aldmeri content, and play through the Ebonheart content with the same character. So there's lots of opportunities to level up, not only to 1 to 50, but also all of your skills too.
Which level is the character in the demo here?
In the demo here, it's just level 6.
Okay. Yeah, I experienced it because I fought some crocodiles and stuff, and they were pretty hard to defeat.
They're pretty tough, yeah. That's been kind of nice. One of the interesting things of feedback we've been getting in beta is actually the hard monsters kind of make it more rewarding for players when they do beat them.
Yeah.
They're happy that I kicked that guy's butt. So it's a tough thing for Maria and Nick there, our monster and combat designers, to make sure that it's not too hard, but hard enough.
Okay. So Elder Scrolls Online was just announced for the new consoles. Will the servers be separated?
Yes.
Separate server?
There'll be different environments per console as well as PC and Mac. They'll be in different worlds. There won't be crossing over between them.
And you also said there will be a day-night cycle.
Yes.
How will it work? Will it work? Because of course, players around the world will play Elder Scrolls Online.
The day-night cycle isn't tied to a time zone. It's basically its own timeline within the game itself. I think it's something like a 4-hour cycle. 4 hours is 24 hours in the game world.
Okay.
We're still nailing that down, but it's not linked to a time zone.
Okay. And in comparison to Skyrim, for example, if you look at the game, it already, when you are far away, it looks a little bit like Skyrim.
Yeah.
But first person isn't included here yet. I also walked around a little bit here. It's around Daggerfall. And how will you manage the inventory system?
Oh, okay.
Like I saw some swords, but yet it wasn't possible to loot them, get them, and use them.
The inventory system doesn't work on encumbrance or anything like that. It's just a matter of how many slots you have, and you can expand your inventory space when you go into a major city to get more room. If you weren't able to loot anything, it could have been that your inventory was full.
No, it was just I went in a dungeon and there was several swords and stuff like that.
There are some things in the world that you can't loot.
Yeah.
We've looked at making those lootable or not. One of our guys back at the studio is focused purely on economy.
Yeah.
And with itemization and economy and weapons and armor, that's a very delicate balance that he has to strike. For the time being, things like baskets, fruits, drinks, and things like that are lootable. Weapons and armor, we're not having them be lootable just yet. We're still, again, trying to figure out if that's something we want to do or not, because the crafters need to be able to make weaponry and armor for people. Yeah. So if they walk around and can just kind of pick up any old weapon, that kind of devalues their contribution to the economy.
Yeah.
So that's maybe why you couldn't have just picked up any weapon you saw.
Okay. And in Cyrodiil, there are also normal quests where you can...
in Cyrodiil, Bruma, Cheydinal, Coral, Cropsford, which was basically a 2 or 3 house town in Oblivion, in Velastris, which was a tower in Oblivion. These are fully fledged towns. The NPCs walk and talk just like they do in the PvE territory. They all have conversations, and they all have quests for you to do. The quest will basically send you out in the world within Cyrodiil, so it actually makes more traffic for people to be running around and killing each other. But those quests are out there for you to do. If you just want to feel like doing some PvE things that night, you can do that.
It's cool. And when you're in Cyrodiil, you are in one of, I think it's called Battlegrounds, where these, for example, 2,000 players are they're separated, of course, from the millions of players.
But yeah, we actually call them a campaign. So a campaign system is basically, it takes, you can sign up for a campaign, and the campaign has a duration. And then when the campaign ends, the keeps don't reset it or anything. It just changes the score back to 0, and you build score back up by taking the holding keeps. You also have a guest campaign assignment. In case, you felt like joining me in my campaign, you can say, well, if we weren't assigned to the same one, I can choose to reassign myself or just have a guest pass with a friend. And that allows you to play in various versions of Cyrodiil, which may not be the one you're assigned to.
How long will such a campaign take, for example?
Campaigns can go anywhere between like 2 days, if we felt like doing a weekend campaign, to some crazy years numbers worth that my programmer gave me. I think on average we're going to be looking for doing 30-day campaigns, but we may extend them out to being longer to 60 days or maybe even 3 or 4 months at a time. It just depends on what we see in beta, what players attach themselves more to.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about studios, ZeniMax Online Studios. When did they started making Elder Scrolls Online?
I think it's been about 6 years now. I've been with the studio for 4 myself.
Okay, so maybe just after Oblivion, or?
I think the timing was slightly after Oblivion, a couple, I think 4 years before Skyrim, if I got the timing down right. So we've been around for a while.
So how many people were working on the game?
I lose count. Yeah, I walk around and people say hey to me, and I'm embarrassed to say I don't know all their names, but it's a lot of us.
That's cool. And you are also working closely together with Bethesda?
Yes.
So the ZeniMax Online Studios?
Yes, yeah. We have actually somebody back at the studio, Lawrence, who handles all of our lore back and forth with Bethesda to make sure everything we put in the game is Elder Scrolls appropriate and not sort of any sort of, somebody said, an orc riding on a jaguar. You're never going to see that. So a lot of the stuff is we vet through Bethesda to make sure Elder Scrolls fans are happy with the lore.
Okay, so you just said riding on crazy creature.
Yeah, no, we don't have anything.
Dragons also not.
No, dragons actually.
Crazy question also asked a lot, but of course not.
No, dragons in this time period are actually dormant.
Yeah. Of course, everyone who played Skyrim
wants dragons, of course. Yeah.
And can you tell us a little bit more about mounts? So of course they're horses.
I can tell you a little bit in the fact that they're more than just an inventory item. You do things with the horses to make them go faster, et cetera, but we'll give more information on that system when it's more readily available to be played in beta.
So just horses, different kinds of horses?
Just horses, and only on the ground, no flying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much for the interview.
No problem.